Hey everyone, my name is Franci Bacher and welcome to my How to Answer Important Business Questions with Google Analytics 4 webinar. Um, Welcome everyone, thank you for joining here. Special thanks to everyone from US because you're taking time on your holiday, on the Thanksgiving. I'll try to be useful and brief and I'll try to be as valuable as possible. So let's just dive in. So today we will cover some basic Google Analytics questions. Um, but first, let me introduce myself. So my name is Franci Bacher. Um, I started working with Google Analytics back in 2014 in my previous company. Then I started working via Upwork. So I was a freelancer for a while, and later, when the business was, let's say, booming, I created a small team and with my coworkers, we now have a small agency, Goodish. We are focused on the technical side of digital marketing, meaning that we are dealing a lot with Google Analytics, and so with website analytics in general, especially Google Analytics and Posthoc, and also with product analytics like Mixpanel, Posthoc, and so on. And we are also building a lot of automations, CRM connections, and things like this. So if you have any issues with this, let us know, and we will help you. Um, Today we will discuss Google Analytics. I will briefly go over the differences between Universal Analytics, the old version, and the new version, Google Analytics 4, and then I will show you how to do deep dives and how to dig out some insights and answers on some important business questions. So when I'm talking about Google Analytics 4, it's not just an update from Universal Analytics, it's actually a new tool. It works differently. It measures, so it collects data differently, it measures data differently, and also the output is a bit different. So there is some new vocabulary to learn, there are some new expressions, there are different reports, different metrics. We will go over this. Maybe the main difference, or the most obvious difference, at least for me, is that in GA4 everything is an event. So previously with Universal Analytics we have page views, events, and there were social events, and then there was like transactions from e-commerce and user timings and so on. Now everything is event. So page view is just another event. A transaction, purchase, add to cart, those are all just another events. So that's in a way more simple, but it also enables a user to be more detailed in tracking and to add different events as you wish. And also it enables Google to measure with the same tool with GA4 to measure apps, web apps, Android apps, and also websites. So Android, iOS, web apps, websites, everything. Now you can use GA4 for all of those tools. So that's maybe the biggest improvement. Okay, so GA4 in principle is more focused on data collection. So because of those events and everything. And also you probably heard about the Data Studio, nowadays called Locker Studio. And GA4 also comes up with a BigQuery connection for free. So displaying and analyzing the data is still a big part of GA4, but it's not the main focus. The main focus of GA4 is collecting the data. So if now we compare Universal Analytics, when we were installing the Universal Analytics, you just had to put this basic UTM tag on the page, and when it started working, there was a bunch of reports that start to populate, and maybe it was a bit confusing for someone because there was a lot of those reports, but the data already flows in, and you could go around and lose yourself or find something or found something useful. But with GA4, you have to think more about your data model, about what you would like to track. So what kind of data you would like to collect. Usually we sit down with the client, we go over the page, we discuss which steps are crucial in user journey, and then you have to track all of those steps with Google Tag Manager, or preferably Google Tag Manager. and then you get this data in GA4, and you can then analyze them in this data in GA4, or send the data to the data studio or other tools via BigQuery and analyze them there. So I think also that's important to understand. So with in universal analytics, there were views. Maybe we can just take a look at this in the demo account. So here in the admin section, under each property could have several views. Like usually those views were like master view, and then there were test view, raw view, Google Ads data view, and so on. Depends on your needs. Now those views are gone in the GA4 and are in a way replaced with the data streams. So data streams are not the same as views, but in a way they have the same. They have similar functions. So this demo account has a data stream web, but we could also have data stream Android or iOS app, and Google would in the back then go through this data and parse it together and so on. So that's another difference. So no more views. Then in Google Analytics 4, we have new metrics, new engagement metrics. So before, in the old version of Analytics, we had bounce rate, pages per session, and average session duration. Okay, so here probably in those reports, let's say, so bounce rate, pages per session, average session duration. So those metrics were introduced back in, let's say, 2005, 6, I don't know. And bounce rate, for example, it made a lot of sense back in that time because the pages had a lot of burger menus and people were navigating through those menus, and if someone went from one page to another, that was like important thing back in the days. But nowadays we have a lot of tools like Angular JS or web apps or single page apps, and people don't change URLs that often, and just measuring engagement makes more sense. So if we take example report here in the new version of analytics, you can see those new metrics. So engage session is a session. It means that session duration takes at least 10 seconds, that there were a conversion in the session, or that a user changed two screens or two pages. So at least one of these criteria has to be met for the engage session. Then we have average engagement time per session. That's only the time when the session is active, so when the tab is active. For example, now in this tab, this session is, so this is an engage time, while those tabs that I'm not active on, the engage time is not measured. So you are, with this metric, you are actually observing the time when users were actually engaging with your page, so reading, scrolling down, clicking on buttons, and so on. And then we have engage session per users, which is, I think, kind of self-explanatory. So those behavior metrics are new and are, in my opinion, a step in the right direction, because what you want to measure is actually how people are when people are engaging with your page or web app, and how people are engaging with your page or web app. And then we have events. So I already mentioned that everything is built around events here in GA4. We have 4 types of events, automatically collected events. Those events are collected by default, like page view, session start, so you don't need to do anything. You don't need to do anything in Google Tag Manager. Those events are just there. Then we have enhanced measurement events. You can find these settings here in the admin under the data stream settings. So here, enhanced measurement, if you would click on the settings button, drop down like this one will show up, and you can toggle those events on or off. And I think that's very smart move from Google, because let's take a look at, for example, forum interactions events. For a lot of more simpler users, you just by toggling this on or off, the successful forum submission like contact us forum or sign up for a newsletter forum would those events would start coming into the GA4 with just toggling this button. So you don't need to do any advanced setup in GTM, any trigger stacks, variables, and so on. Just install, click this on, and this data is already in. And I will show in the next step how you can make a conversion out of these events. Now, let's say for more advanced users who have, let's say, multiple forums, maybe sign up for a newsletter and then contact us, and maybe some other like join a webinar or things like this. So you would have 3-4 different forums, and you would like to distinguish between them. In this case, you would want to create those events manually in Google Tag Manager, and you can just toggle this button off and measure those events yourself. So enhanced measurement events are a bunch of events which for more simple users are super useful, and for more advanced users, there are still a way to customize them. So I think that's very, very clever thinking from Google. Then we have recommended events. Those are, for example, purchase events. So Google does not measure them by default. You have to set up everything, but Google offers or suggest how you should name them, like item view, add to cart, start checkout, and so on, purchase. And if you do the setup as Google suggests, then a bunch of predefined reports will be populated and will start working in the GA4. So again, super useful. If you do those kind of setups, I suggest you visit the Google documentation. So here on that link, everything is explained, and if you will do a deep dives, you will get a lot of suggestions how to set up and how to name those events. And the last difference is our conversions. So back in the old analytics, we had, so the conversions were called goals. And if you remember, we had like time goals based on time, or on page views, or destination goals, or goals based on events. Now all of this is gone. In the new version of analytics in the GA4, everything is an event, and you can make a conversion out of event. So if you go here under the configure section, you will see all of the events. And if you're in the actual account, not in the demo account, you have those toggle buttons, and you just click on the toggle button, and you get a conversion. So, and if you don't want to measure something as a conversion, you can just toggle this off. So maybe some of you are now asking, okay, but how can you track a destination goal like a thank you page? Simply in Google Tag Manager, you can create a trigger based on the page view, like page path or page URL equals thank you page, and you get an event, and then you toggle this event on. How you can get a time event if someone is 60 seconds on your page, you have to create a trigger in Google Tag Manager, send it as an event here, and add it as a conversion. So it's more simple, and it's also more simple for a user, especially for a marketing departments. If you are not that techy, they can easily toggle this on and off if they need something. So yeah, I think those are maybe the biggest difference. The differences between Google Analytics 4 and Universal Analytics. At this point, I would like to just mention that in our experience, Google Analytics 4 is still a little bit buggy from time to time. For example, when we were advertising for this webinar, at some day, we just didn't receive any hits. And so those hits appeared with, I think, 2-day or some lag. So we were already afraid if something went wrong, if our advertising is wrong, and so on. And then we still have post hoc, and we still have Google Analytics, Universal Analytics. So, and with those two tools, for a backup, we have them, and we were then confirmed that everything is working, that there is just a bug in GA4. But still, we encourage everyone to migrate to GA4 as soon as possible. We are hoping that Google will fix everything by the next July, and in the meantime you can have dual tagging, so meaning the old version of analytics and the new version of analytics. Those two versions are not fighting between, so it's nothing wrong if you have both of them installed, and it's actually even better because you can have for a backup, and you can also, if for now, if you were using the old version and now that you are migrating to the new version, I think it's a good practice that at least for a month you are comparing the reports, you are learning, and you are checking the old one and the new one, and you will get how everything is working. So yeah, just don't be surprised if something is a little bit buggy from time to time, but it's getting better every day. It's useful, it's more useful, and you can really do it's a big step forward. So yeah, we bottom line, we like it. Okay, so maybe now we can take a look briefly how the reports are looking here. So the reporting, how this menu is built, it's kind of follows the same logic as the old version did follow, only that the GA4 comes with far less different reports, and I think for a majority of users this will be better because it will be less overwhelming, and you can be more focused on the things that are matter. So this is actually a funnel. So how you are acquiring people, how people are then engaging with your products or website, and then at the end, how much money do you collect. Yeah, maybe I will briefly show one of our accounts just to show you something. I think it's super useful how Google allows you to edit those menus here. So if you click here in the library, you will see that you have those sections like life cycle, search console, user, and so on. Search console will only appear here if you will connect your search console with Google Analytics. And it's very easy to edit those. So if you click on those three dots and on edit, you can, for example, we don't have an application, so we can turn off publisher ads, in-app purchases, and also we don't use publisher ads, so we can just remove this and save. Go back, and this is how we just remove this from the menu. So under the monetization, we only have retention. We could completely remove the monetization. If you don't sell anything, you can completely remove this. And similar way, you could add other collections here, or create some simple reports and add them in the menu. So that's if I turn back to the starting point. If you track the proper events, then you can create custom reports here and add them in the menu so different reports for different teams, and you could even name them like, I don't know, Google Ads team, Facebook Ads team, and create some reports for them in here. So I think that's super useful and also lovely. Okay, now let's go to some important questions. I guess for business owners, the most important question usually is how much money did you make, or if we go more into the details, for example, which channels are contributing most sessions to your website, or most conversions, most purchases to your website. So you can find the answer to this question in the standard reports. For example, if you go here under the acquisition, and I'll go back to the demo account. So if you go under acquisition, traffic acquisition, here is a brief overview how different channels are doing. So by default, you get channel groups, so how your organic search is doing, direct, referral, paid search, and so on. Now, if you want to do some deep dives, you can toggle this button here and, for example, add source medium. So now you will see exactly which source medium, so Google CPC or referral, how many traffic, and here conversions and revenue is bringing a certain source. Now you can even do next step here, and let's say add a dimension, and let's add a campaign. So session campaign. And now you can use a filter here, and let's filter by source medium. Session source medium, let's say Google CPC. And when I apply this, now I'm just seeing how different campaigns from Google CPC are doing. So which Google CPC campaign is bringing in most revenue, most engaged sessions, and so on. Now, if I would export this to Data Studio and add data from Google Ads, or if here would be Facebook campaign data from Facebook Ads, I would also be able to calculate the actual ROI. But yeah, so with adding the secondary dimension and filtering some filters, you can then do deep dives. So you can start with a broad overview, and then you can do deep dives, and then you can also do a comparison. For example, we could compare here by country, and we can compare how people from US are doing versus people from Canada. Okay, so the blue ones are US and the orange ones is Canada. And obviously, this Dim account does not advertise in Canada. But yeah, then you can also, for example, remove secondary dimension and also remove filter and do this overview just for the whole report. So yeah, I think that's quite easy. Again, so there are 3 ways how to do a deep dives on any report. You can add secondary dimension, you can add filter, and you can add comparisons above here. Okay, then in the next part, I would like to show you the explore session a little bit more. And let's say that your question is, which are your top pages, top organic pages. So if you go here under the explore section, we will now create a small organic landing pages report. So just click on the plus, name it. Okay, now first we will create a segment. So which segment do we want to observe here? And we can add a condition, source medium. Condition, channel. And we save this. So now we have, oh, I forgot to add title. Organic traffic. Okay, now we will add some dimensions. Add page path. Import it, and now we also have to add some metrics like entrances. And new users. returning users. So you can add whatever metrics you would like to, for example, and engage sessions, engage session per user, engagement rate, average engagement time per session, and so on. You get the point. Now you just double click on each of those, and so the dimension will become a row, and add those metrics. Wait for Google to cook everything, and you will get a super useful report. So which pages are ranking best in your organic. So that's just for organic traffic. So which page are best for your SEO, and how many new users are you getting, how many people are coming back organically, what's the engagement time, and so on. So I think that's useful. Similarly to this, you would be able to create like exit pages. You would just change the metrics here, like exit, like views and exit rate and so on. So I think that's so this explore tab is super useful for me. And so before I was showing you the library. You can create reports there, but from some reason not all of the metrics are available in the library section. So like entrances, for example, or exits are not available in that section, but they are available here in the explore section. So I prefer doing the custom reports here in the explore section. Okay, now let's assume another important business question. Let's say you would like to understand how your funnel is doing, or if your funnel is leaking somewhere. So let's say that you have a small shop, and you would like to create a purchase funnel. So this works the same as I showed you previously. So you have different segments here you can add, and dimensions and metrics. What's different in the funnel are the steps, and those steps are based on the events you are collecting. So with the e-commerce, usually there are those, how we call them, those events that Google requires, that Google has name for them. Just a second. So recommended events. So those recommended events. Um, so we have item view, and so building this funnel is super easy. So you can just, with this drop down, you can pretty much choose whatever you would like to. In most of the times, those would be events, and choose events, view item, and then events, add to cart, begin checkout. And I join those two steps. So either add payment info or add shipping info and add purchase. And Google will calculate here what percentage of this traffic is actually visible, and click on the apply. And this is how you get the funnel. That's very popular request with our clients, because in the predefined reports, this funnel is missing, and people were used to have this report in the old version in the Universal Analytics. So we can see that 29% of people who are viewing the item in this shop are then adding to cart, and 41% of those is then starting with the checkout, and 93 are then filling out shipping information, and 63 of those 93 are then completing the purchase. So if I would start fixing this, I would start here. I think that's too low. It should be above 80 and then move towards that funnel. And again, I would like to go back to that events point. So because you can create event out of everything and send this event to GA4, you could literally have this funnel way longer. So for example, for each step in the billing and shipping, like add address, add email, add phone number, you could have a step, and you could calculate the conversion rates between the steps, so how many people are proceeding down. So I think that's where GA4 is super useful, because if you have an issue, if you are suspecting that something is wrong on the page, but you don't know where, you can create a simple funnel out of the. So you have to first create events, then you create a simple funnel out of them, and quickly you will see where your funnel is leaking. Okay, so that's it from my side. So we covered how to check out which pages are the best, so which pages are the best organically, how to set up exit pages, how to set up funnels, and how to take a look on which traffic are bringing in the most revenue. Now it's time for your questions. Let me know if you have any questions. Type them in the comments, and I can answer them. In the meanwhile, while you're typing the questions, I can give you some hints. You can go out and check our YouTube channel and follow us. You can also find us on our social media. You can check our LinkedIn, uh, our Instagram profile. You can also write me an email. So that's my email. If you have some questions, I can help you. We are also offering 30 minutes free call for everyone, so to discuss your case. And of course, we like to see if at least some of you would then order something from us. So we are offering GA4 installations, GTM installations, and help with different automations, CRMs, product analytics, website analytics in general. So don't be shy, reach out. Okay, if we don't have any questions, then I would just like to thank you for joining this webinar. Thank you for listening to me. Expect an email from me in probably tomorrow with some discount on our services. And yeah, I hope we will discuss your case, your Google Analytics, and that we will do something useful for you. So thank you for watching me, and see you. Bye.